I mean, it is great, isn't it? Wrestling's so hot right now. Sometimes I think about jumping into a lava pit of joy, even though my body will burn and I will die. But when something's good, I go all in. It does seem like a good time to try and figure out why this is though, and I've said that magic word, so everybody take your hands, slap your head, and shout, "Here's why." Not really how the catchphrase goes. I've also been doing it a long time. I think I may be a parody of myself. So there will be many factors to this, and we'll go through as many as we can. But let's wind everyone up to start, because number one is competition. That's right. Now you can pretend that the arrival of AEW didn't tie into this, but you'll be absolutely crazy, because ever since it was born in 2019, and when you can see it in the evidence, WWE was like, oh man, we better light a fire under our own ass. And they did. I mean, that is the reason why the Monday Night Wars were so crazy, and while today is nothing like then, it's just human nature. If all of a sudden you've got somebody nipping at your toes, you're like, well, I don't like the fact you're licking my feet, so now all of us must improve. I mean, if you want to be the best, you have to go out there and beat the best. You've got to smash through a wall, you've got to stroke a cat, and you've got to shout at the moon. It's why I want this to continue forever, because when you do have this back and forth, every single promotion is going to want to put their best foot forward. I mean, it's why AEW was able to sell out Wembley Stadium, which is still crazy, and when we look forward to WrestleMania 40, WWE is just making all the cash. They've sold like 60,000 tickets over 2 nights. I mean, that is big time business. All this came together as well to solve another issue when it came to the industry: stars. And no, I'm not talking about the things in the sky. And while everyone can shout, oh, John Cena, one of the reasons he was on top for so long is because nobody came out and dethroned him. Like, don't get me wrong, he did super duper for WWE, but if there had been John Cena too, he would have knocked him off his perch. And sure, look, Roman Reigns came along and eventually he got there, but we've talked about that 1,000 times. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Suffer and succotash. Our tribal chief really has become the brightest light though, and he is so damn good. But then there's Cody Rhodes, there's Randy Orton, there's LA Knight, there's Becky Lynch, there's Seth Rollins, there's Rhea Ripley, there's CM Punk, there's Drew McIntyre, there's Bianca Belair. And I could go on, but I won't. But I will say Kevin Owens, and I will say Sami Zayn, because I love them. And Bayley. I mean, WWE just has so many individuals right now that could main event a show, or if you need to pivot, you could grab any one of them and throw them center stage. It also means when you do need to change paths, you can do it at the click of the fingers. And look at the 2024 Rumble. You could choose from 10 people, and every single one I'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's the same with AEW too, because they've got a bunch of folk who are absolutely killing it. And in terms of this year, they're about to make a bunch of new people too, because look at someone like Swerve Strickland, and look at someone like Hangman Adam Page. It feels like he's about to cook again. This time, let's keep it going. Daniel Garcia fits right into this category too, and you can just see it when you watch the television. And I love watching wrestlers evolve in front of my eyes like they're Pokemon. I feel like I'm a part of the journey, and that means I'm going to invest more. Then there's also people like Julia Hart, Willow Nightingale, Hook, Nick Wayne, Darby Allin, and you have established people too. I mean, Samoa Joe is the AEW World Champion as I'm speaking to you on this day, and ain't nobody got a problem with that. And if you do, well, I'm sorry, you just one big negative Nancy. AEW also hit a home run with that Continental Classic and proved that you can have an alternative in the pro wrestling world and make it feel like sports, and just go through every single pay-per-view or premium live event. Like, when was the last time you actually watched one and thought that was terrible? It's super duper rare anymore. And trust me, there was a period where that was not the case. Some of them absolutely sucked. I think there is something that ties this all together, and it's kind of hanging over pro wrestling right now, and that is patience. Now, I do use that word a lot, but I really do think it's important to say, because I think every single company right now is like, listen, we do have a lot of TV and we have social media. I think we can elongate our stories and our audience will stay emotionally involved. That really has helped no end, and look at something like the Bloodline. If that happened back in 2018, Sami Zayn would have joined in January, and by February, he would be smacking Roman Reigns with a chair. And you would have gone like, well, yeah, I guess that's all right. But then you would have moved on to something else. I mean, you can even mention this when it comes to CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. CM Punk would have come back on that Raw, and by, I don't know, SmackDown, 10 days later, they would be getting into some kind of fisticuff. But now in WWE, sure, they had a little bit of a tete-for-tete, but then they separated entirely so we could all get excited in our tum-tums. It just gives you so much breathing room and allows you to introduce new ideas. And yes, I know sometimes we go too far in the other direction, but once again, that is better than what we had before, which is, well, here's 3 weeks of a plot, and now we're bored, and we're getting rid of it. I just feel like if you are part of the wrestling community, you can feel the buzz right now. And let's go back to the C2. There were people sat at home, and they were booking the thing, and they were doing the maths, and when they came up with the idea of, oh my gosh, it's going to be Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston, and they were right, do you know what they did? They did the Dance of Joy, and they started getting ready for the C2 2024. It's the same with the Royal Rumble, as people are just throwing every crazy plan out there. Once again, it comes down to the fact that you aren't watching wrestling passively anymore, and you've taken your plug and you plugged it in. Which sounds dodgy, and if you want to do that when it comes to sports entertainment, you can. It's probably illegal. And it's not an accident though. This stuff does not happen by a fluke. And it's because mostly human beings watching are happy to be involved. So for me, this era of wrestling is definitely the most popular it has been ever since the Attitude Era. I really aren't see it slowing down anytime soon. And that's why WWE went out there and got CM Punk, and I'm going to guess AEW went out there and got Mercedes Moné, because they were like, well look, we don't want the momentum to stop, we don't want to get to the point where like, oh no, we are too late. They want this fire to continue. So yeah, they keep trying to outdo each other, and it flubbing rocks. As silly as it sounds too, it actually does feel like it's cool to like wrestling again, which once again ties into the late 90s. I remember going to school on a Monday and getting beaten up because I enjoyed the fake grappling. And then by Tuesday, the Attitude Era had blown up, and everybody wanted to be my friend and find out who Stone Cold Steve Austin was. And I had to go home an emotional mess. Why does everybody love and hate me? And of course it will fall off eventually, not down to anything in particular. That's just how the world works, but that's why we should be enjoying it more than ever. I mean, somehow momentum creates more momentum, so look, go over the top with your predictions and just enjoy the ride. It is a terrific roller coaster. I also do want to mention a company like TNA that feels completely renewed ever since they have changed their name. And also, they have a terrific roster. And look at something like New Japan Pro Wrestling. I mean, they are still fighting back from the pandemic, which really did a number on them. But you can turn on New Japan World right now and watch Bryan Danielson versus Okada. Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre 2 Jr. is coming. And Nick Nemeth, aka Dolph Ziggler, is also making his debut there. Plus you have Will Ospreay doing crazy things. It's totally fantastic. For the hardcore fans too, you finally had Naito winning at Wrestle Kingdom 18. So anything that you had on your to-do list, wrestling is giving it to you. There's also something to talk about every single day thanks to the crazy news cycle. And it just makes me feel good in my Tootsie Toes. And given that I feel excited to both watch and talk about sports entertainment, well, it just means somebody is ticking the right box. I really do hope you feel this way too, because I remember back in 2019, when we were pouring dog food over Roman Reigns, because his nickname was the Big Dog. I mean, that would be the equivalent of today of like Drew McIntyre literally being a Scottish warrior, or Eddie Kingston having to fight a Tuchus, because he's the king of the bums. Nobody wants that. It's a very Vince McMahon idea. And of course, look, there's way more we can talk about, so please do that in the comments. And remember, given that wrestling is so hot right now, make sure you let it take over your body and enjoy it. There's that magic word again. Sometimes it just needs to be said. Now do please click the video on the screen, which is 10 horrible wrestling matches, which everybody loves, because once again, it is a beautiful thing. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. And make sure, like I say, get in those comments below and just discuss all your positive thoughts when it comes to wrestling. Because sometimes when you put positivity into the world, you get it back, and I want you to feel good in your tum-tum, in your head-tum, and in your toots-tum. All that means, that's how we're ending. Goodbye.